guys, I'm just coming in to say hi and also to test my new equipment. And there it is, it's working. Yay! So I don't really have anything specific to say. This cord is kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. I'm just trying to test out a new mic. So if you guys can hear me, let me know that you can hear me and that the audio is all right. And trying to figure out how to get some lighting here. I'm taking a class on, I'm taking a couple of production classes. And so yeah, camera angles, lighting, it all matters. So I'm trying to get it figured out and how to see like this. This is bad. How to get the light so that I can look at you without getting the lights in my eyes like that, because that's a big no-no. Hey, Donna. Hi, good. Oh, good. I'm glad you guys can hear me. So, hey, I've got some time if you have questions or anything about anything at all. Yay, you can even hear me in Australia. How exciting. How is it down under? Or are you right side up at this time of year? I'm not sure when we're down under and you're on top. Yeah, so if you guys have questions about anything, if I can answer them, I will. If I can't answer them, I won't. So it's cold and yeah, that's right. When it's hot here, I guess it would be cold in Australia, right? I'm kind of jealous because it's like 1,000,000 degrees in this room right now and I don't have air conditioning. So I just have a little fan down by my feet and, hoping that will do good enough. So, you're in Houston. You're in a hot place too, PJ. Yeah, so you guys got any questions about anything? We could talk about all manner of things. Trinidad. Oh, I want to come visit you. YouTube is so amazing. How crazy is it that that we can all communicate in this way? And such a small world. I love that. Yeah, we're also locked down here. Business has been down. I think like for most people right now, business is down, although I know a lot of people have been rocking it. I've been seeing, pictures in my Beginning Balloon Professionals Facebook group, these yard art, drive-by birthday parties and socially distanced gatherings are really huge. So if you're trying to focus on corporate work, now might not be the best time. But if you start focusing on, the drive-by parties or the yard art, it seems to be doing really well. But, for me, thank God for in America, the PPP loans. If you have a business and if you were in business by February of 2020, I think that the deadline to apply for the PPP loans maybe is at the end of the month. So if you haven't done it already, there's still money left. You should. If you're in Trinidad or Australia, I'm afraid I don't know what programs they have for you there, or even England or pretty much anywhere other than the United States. I only know about the U.S. programs because those are the ones that I took advantage of. But yeah, it was a lifesaver for sure. And, the PPP loans, if you're a sole proprietor, like I am, you don't have to have employees to pay it to. I mean, the assumption is that it's paying your own paycheck. So it's basically a grant, which is pretty cool. You haven't been seeing a whole lot of the yard art and stuff out there in Houston? I saw somebody in the Beginning Balloon Professionals group that did like a big door thing. Bigger than a wreath. I mean, it pretty much covered the whole door. And I thought that was a really clever way to do condensed yard art. If somebody lives in an apartment building or doesn't have a yard or something like that, you could do something crazy on the door. And that's a good way to make that birthday child feel special when they can't celebrate the normal way. So that might be something to look into. What's happening with schools out there in Houston? Or in Texas? Are schools opening up or is it remote learning? Because depending what's happening with schools, that's probably the best place to try to reach parents is through the schools. So through the PTAs or whatever, it is remote learning. Yeah. So, you might be able to do something with your local PTA, and they could promote your services to all of their members, and you give them a percentage of sales or something like that, because they're also having trouble doing fundraisers at the moment. Open in MS. Okay, I'm gonna show my ignorance here. That's Missouri or Mississippi? MS is Missouri, right? I should know this. I'm embarrassed of myself right now. I am. I'm gonna Google it. I can't just leave it like that. I have to know which one is MS and which one is MS is Mississippi. I was wrong. Ooh, Manchester, England. Yeah, it does rain there a lot. I was there like a million years ago. I was 15, and it was amazing. We went to Manchester and Bath and London and Liverpool, of course, and it was awesome. And I think like we had like the 1 week of sun, so that was really cool. I think it was when we were in Bath that we had like the 1 week of sun. So yeah, we don't get a whole lot of rain in San Diego. Maybe about 12 days a year. So in fact, I'll tell you a funny story. I went to school in Santa Barbara, and I remember I had a friend who had gone to school in England, and one day it was raining, so I was telling her, oh, I'm just not going to go to class today. And she was laughing at me. She's like, yeah, I went to school in England. Like, that just wouldn't work. We'd never go to school. So Southern California living. You sign up with a few school districts as a contractor. Awesome. It's not enough just to sign up with them as a contractor. That you're on the contractors list is a great start. But now you need to also reach out to them and, try to make some deals. Biloxi, Mississippi. Very cool. So if schools are open, then they're probably looking for ways to, add some color, maybe some directionals as they try to train kids on the new social distance ways of moving through campus and stuff. It all comes out to marketing, right? Reaching out. As I tell everybody, as I say a lot in Balloon Business Bootcamp, smile and dial. Like, you just can't beat smile and dial. Yeah, so in Trinidad, you're online too. Here in San Diego, we're all online too. In fact, that's the reason that I figured I'd come on right now. I just finished my class that I'm a student in. I'm going back to school to learn production. Yes, I'm learning how to be a news anchor. Let me tell you something. Reading a teleprompter is hard. Like, it's one thing to just come on and pop off and whatever, but to actually read a teleprompter and to do it in that newsy voice is really hard. So my class that I'm a student in just ended, and I thought, well, I've got the screen set up, I've got the camera on, I have, I didn't put on makeup, but I'm not a complete and total disaster. I have a bra on at least, so I figured, why not? I'd come and say hi. But yeah, okay. All right, so here's the question, and let's see who it's coming from here. From Tiffany. Okay. I have to look over at the Facebook group to see the names of who's talking to me. So Tiffany is asking, when you're designing a garland with various sizes, do I save the 5-inch for fillers, or do I mix them in with the 12 inches, and etc.? I save them for fillers, and I'll tell you why. The first time I did a garland, I didn't. I tried to just put them right in there. But what happened was, they literally disappeared. I mean, on the one hand, it's good because it would create a bend in the garland, right? So if you want a wonky shape, if you throw a 5-inch in there or a couple of 5-inchers, it'll create a bend, right? Because now you're not stacking similar shape on similar shape. But then what happens is it also becomes a hole, right? So it just doesn't look right. And then if you're going to layer anything into it, it's going to get covered up anyway. So I learned pretty quickly that it's just better to save those 5-inchers till the end and then tie them in everywhere. Now I will do it with a mix of 11-inch and 16-inch to get a little bit different sizes, because what happens is you start to get into a rhythm and it becomes really hard to get the balloons to be different sizes. And so to combat that, I'll throw in a 16-inch or something like that to just kind of break up the the way that the sizes are, inflating. Now, having said that, you still have to like really try to make it a different size, because you just get into that rhythm. You're like, blow, yeah, okay, go. Oh gosh, those are exactly the same. And of course, when you want them to be exactly the same, they never will be. So, Murphy's Law. But so usually what I'll do is I'll tie in all my 5-inchers. And then the bigger balloons, the 16-inch, the 3-footers that are underinflated, those ones I'll usually tie in as individuals, or maybe I'll take the big balloon and attach it to a quad of, to some little balloons to add it to the garland. But those ones I don't want to place haphazardly. I want to really look at it and figure out, okay, you know what, it needs it there in that right corner. And then if I put it in the right corner, I need it down on the opposite side here for balance. So Angela's asking, if you're just starting out, where would you recommend I start? That's a really big question. Where would I recommend you start with what? What to buy, what to practice, what to learn? Obviously, I recommend that you start with my Facebook channel. My YouTube channel, Sandy Missouri Presents. I have a Beginning Balloon Professionals playlist there that takes you through the basics of all the building blocks of balloons, and then kind of has designs that that kind of increase in complexity. And if what you want to learn is the business side, then I recommend that you take my Balloon Business Bootcamp Home Study Edition, which is available right now for 50% off. That website is ballooncourse.com. It is a self-paced home study version of very tightly focused on marketing, pricing, and sales. So, okay, and if you want your garland to be wider, then you can add to it. So there's a couple of different ways, right? I mean, if you really want it to be wider, right from the get-go, then you could do it all with 16-inch balloons. Make 16-inch balloons your majority, inflating into different sizes. So maybe you're going to want to use 16-inch balloons and 18-inch balloons and 24-inch balloons. The other thing that you can do is you can add layers to it, right? So you're going to have your original thin garland, and then you're going to tie into it more sections on the side. And if you watch my video, I think it's organic balloon garland, DIY organic balloon garland, you'll see me doing exactly that, right? I put it down, and then I need it to be chunkier on the, as it comes down the door. And so you'll see I take a section and I just, kind of tie it right in. I use rubber bands. I go to Walmart and I get them, the multiple size bag of rubber bands. And so that way, for example, to tie in that second garland, I just take a rubber band and I'm going to, put the rubber band around 2 balloons on the one garland and 2 balloons on the other garland. I'm going to do that in a few pieces, and you'll be surprised. I mean, it just kind of gels together like it was meant to be there. I can't really explain it, but you'll see if you try it, you're like, oh, wow, that was easy. But go look at that. Let's see if I can find you the link for that video, although it may start playing. Let's see, Sandy Berlin, organic Garland. That's cool. Okay, copy link address. I'm going to put it here. I don't know if I put it in the chat. If I'm going to also put it on Facebook separately, because I don't know if it will put things to both places if I type it in the chat here. I'm using StreamYard, and it's still a little bit new to me. So here's the thing that I'm really trying to practice right now. This is one of my assignments for my new producer / professor, and that is that I need to try to kind of keep my head down so that we don't get these rings in my glasses, but still keep my eyes on you. So I'm trying to practice doing that. And yeah. So you're off to work. Well, have a great, I don't know if it's day or evening for you, but have a great work. I hope it's great. How do I deal with using helium in the heat? Mine popping immediately. Okay. If your balloons are popping in the heat, it means you overinflated them. So something really important, or it could be a dark color, but look, outdoors, heat, balloons, it's tricky. It's tricky and it sucks. Balloons don't like, direct heat or sun. But you need to inflate it in the same weather that it's going to be in, right? So if you inflate your balloon in an air-conditioned room and then you take it out into the sun and then the gas expands, it's going to pop, right? So it might have been perfectly sized, but then once the gas expands, it's going to pop. So your best bet then is to inflate it in the same temperature that it's going to be living in. So if it's going to be outside, do it outside. Now, here's where it gets a little bit tricky, right? This is something that happens to me a lot. In San Diego, we can have a 40, 50 degree difference from the morning to the evening. Well, if you're on site at 4 or 5 in the morning to set up, it might be like 50, 60 degrees, and then it could get up to, into the 80s or higher by noon, 1 or 2. So, you have to kind of find that balance. And honestly, this is just an experience thing of how big to inflate the balloon so that it has room to expand and not pop, but also has enough helium that it's not going to diminish the float time. And, sometimes the best way really is to experiment, right? Blow up some balloons, take them outside, write on it what time you inflated it, what temperature it was, and see what happens. And then also know that dark colors don't do well outside. They're going to pop in direct sunlight. Even air-filled can pop, even when they're underinflated. If it's hot enough and they're in direct sunlight, they can pop like popcorn. It's very frustrating. But yeah, generally, you want to underinflate and you want to be careful with how much you're filling them. What you can use to hang garlands on the walls besides command strips? Honestly, I don't know. I've heard that you can use something like brick hooks, but I personally don't have that much experience rigging garlands without rig points or without, since I tend to do high-end things, a lot of times the ceilings or belong to a rigging union, and I actually have to let somebody else do the rigging. So I've heard of something called brick clips. Command strips, maybe if you put down the command strip and then like duct tape it down, there too I would say experiment. If you're allowed to do penetrations, maybe you can put a nail there to tie onto. I mean, the good thing is that you don't need much, right? I mean, 1 or 2 rig points is really all you need for a garland. Sometimes you just got to get creative. I mean, we've had times where we had to like create a false ceiling, or we had to take a line from like way over there and like bring it across and tie it here to something so that we could hang it right here, or something like that. So sometimes you just have to get creative, but that is why I tell my clients, if I'm not meeting them for a consultation, sorry, Minnie Mouse is talking to us. If I'm not meeting my clients for a consultation, a lot of times I'll tell them, send me a picture. And sometimes I'll ask them, is there any rig point? And if there's not, then can you create one? So a lot of times I'll put it back on my client that they need to make sure that that's available for me. And they understand. It only happened one time that I had a client that she was a nightmare. And I ended up not doing the job. I ended up firing her, actually. So she wanted a balloon drop. Okay, fine. She wanted a balloon drop over her pool. All right. There was nothing to attach to, like literally nothing. She lived in a huge mansion house. Her pool was like like surrounded by nothing that could be tied onto. And so I told her, well, you're going to need a higher scaffolding, right? Because in a pool, I'm not putting anything that's not really stable, right? You're going to go to the rental company, the prop rental company or the party rental company, and you got to get some scaffolding for me to tie onto. And she didn't want to do that. And she kept arguing with me. And so I'm like trying to explain to her, like, I can't hook it on the sun. It has to have on 2 sides, it has to be really solid. So, anyways, and then I was trying to tell her about about California balloon laws, right? Balloon laws in California say that every Mylar balloon has to be individually weighted. Well, she didn't want to hear about that. She's like, well, I don't need to know about the California balloon laws. You need to know. I said, no, these aren't the California professional decorator laws. These are the California balloon laws. They're for everybody in California who uses balloons. And, you know, I'm not the one that's going to get in trouble if at the party one of the kids lets a balloon go. I mean, to be fair, honestly, probably nobody's going to get in trouble because I don't think they actually enforce it, but you know what I mean. So in the end, she was just so resistant to listening to anything that mattered that I finally told her, you know, I'm sorry, I just don't think that we're a good fit, and let me recommend some other people for you. So sometimes you just have to do that. Yard art numbers. I'm not sure what your question is, though. Any recommendation on them? I mean, you want to make sure they're really well balanced. You want to make sure that they have a good footprint or that they're staked in so that the wind won't topple them because they can be very, you know, top heavy. Other than that, I don't know. I haven't done a ton of those since that is kind of a more recent thing. PVC is probably a better way to do it. We've done numbers before using a aluminum rod, and it's not real stable. So I would stay away from aluminum rod. I would look at PVC or EMT. As far as how to make them, with any frame, a good way to do it is to draw on the ground that whatever it is that you're trying to make, the giant number or whatever. And then that way you can try to bend it or fit it or whatever to it drawn on the ground, right? You kind of have a template rather than just trying to freehand it. And I think that looks like that's probably where the curve should go because it will never look good that way. So that's what we do a lot of times is we'll either with chalk or painter's tape or whatever, we'll make markings on the ground, you know, maybe make a grid even so that we know, okay, here's a 2x4 and we wanted it or whatever. So a lot of times that might be the way to do it. Yeah, a column with foil numbers is going to be the easiest way to do it. And then getting creative in other ways, maybe bringing in other elements or, you know, some organic garland or something like that. Or to make it a marquee or something. Once you get into custom framing, I mean, I can tell you about it until I'm blue in the face, but it's really a feel thing. And it's really something that that you have to develop the feel for it, right? Your mind can understand it, just like twisting balloons, right? Your mind can understand it, but your hands have to figure it out, and it's a muscle memory thing. Which of my books do I recommend for beginners? Are you in my balloon business boot camp? Because anybody who's in my balloon business boot camp, there are PDF copies of my books in there. So all of them are in there, but I think that my two favorites of all my books were Themes and Dreams and the birthday one. Those are the two. I mean, all of them I really poured my heart and soul into, but Themes and Dreams and the birthday book, I think are probably, you know, really loaded with my most profitable designs. And I really thought about what kind of events am I hired for a lot when I put both of those together. And both of them are broken up by themes. So, yeah, I would go with those two, Themes and Dreams and DIY Birthday Bible. Let's say, Graham, yeah, you make lots of frames. You should make some tutorials on it. Well, you sell the frames, so you probably don't want to make tutorials on how to make them. Am I thinking about doing any in-person classes in Texas? I mean, I haven't been invited to do any, but you know, when I get invited to teach places, if I'm able to do it, I love to. You never know where I might turn up. But yeah, hopefully we'll go back to normalcy soon. I'm dying. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? Okay. Somebody was asking, do I use high float every time I use helium? Nope, I do not. In fact, I almost never use high float. When do I use high float? Oh my God, I want to go to Scotland so bad. So bad. I've always wanted to go to Scotland. I've never been there. And I'm like, bucket list. So we were talking about, I need some more coffee. My mind is like, we were just talking, high float, right. When do I use high float? Okay. I only use high float when I need the balloons to last longer than their normal lifespan. So I don't do a ton of deliveries. If I did deliveries, I would absolutely use high float in every delivery, because if you're doing a birthday delivery, you want to make sure that it's going to be in their house for like 2 or 3 weeks, right? Then they're not going to forget you. But if it's a one-day event, it's kind of silly to use high float. Unless, for example, you need it to stick confetti to the sides of the balloon. Or sometimes it happens that for whatever reason, I might want to do the setup the night before, especially New Year's Eve. This is a big one when I'm going to use high float. There's only so many hours in a day, right? I can only take so many New Year's jobs if I have to do it on the 31st, right? So if I can do jobs on the 30th and the 29th, then I can take more jobs. So that's the time that I'm going to use high float, because I know that the balloons need to be good at midnight on New Year's Eve. And if I do them the night before, they are not going to be good at midnight on New Year's Eve. So that's when I'm going to use high float. Even though they don't need a float for 2 weeks, I need them to last longer than 18 hours. And I need them to look good for longer than 18 hours. So that would be a time that I use high float. Most of the time that I use high float, I'm going to end up taking the expense on me. So for example, if I tell a client, hey, I want to come and set up overnight, it wasn't what they requested, then I'm going to take that high float cost on myself. Now, my prices are high enough that I can absorb it. So that's another reason to really pay attention to your pricing. Like, do you have room for mistakes? Do you have room in your pricing for needing 2 foils instead of 1 because 1 popped, or maybe both foils popped and you needed the 3rd one, right? So do you have room in your pricing for that? So I have room in my pricing for the high float. Now, on the other hand, if a client tells me, I want you to do them the night before, now I'm going to charge for it, right? Because now it's by the client's request, not me offering it to make my life better, my life more convenient. So if I make the decision that I want to come in overnight, then I'm taking the expense on me. And if they request it, then they're paying for it. Yeah. Okay. So somebody's saying that his wife had a customer who wanted to keep both the balloon arch and the photo booth frame, and was upset when they told them that they needed to take their frames back. Is there a cheap frame that you can let the customer keep? Okay. So there's 2 things. One, I don't know if there's a cheap frame. I mean, I don't think it gets much cheaper than, making your own from materials that you get at the hardware store. If you want to make that a final sale item, then make sure that the cost of those materials is rolled into that price so that you're being paid for it. And then if you do get it back, yay, you just made some money. So that's what you would want to do is, if you don't want to go back and pick it up, then make sure that you're being paid for it. And that includes your time putting it together, right? It is not just the cost of the materials. It took you time to build the frame. Or be really clear with your customers in your contract, in your language, in the email that you send them confirming the job. What is final sale? What is, what I would consider disposable? And what is, we need to have these frames back or we're charging you for them. And so you want to be really, really clear. But if you tell your customer, hey, we have to take these frames back. My person, what time do you want my strike crew to come back to pick it up? Then it's not going to be an issue. Then they understand. It's just when you're not clear and there's a miscommunication that customers get upset. But as long as you're really clear with them from the very beginning, then they're going to accept it. So for example, I give every outdoor job like the biggest lecture on weather, right? To the point that it might even seem like I'm trying to talk them out of the job. Like, okay, just so you know, I can't guarantee anything with balloons outside. I have no control over the weather. I'm no match for God. Having said that, I will employ best practices to, do everything that I can so that the balloons have a great chance at life. But I I don't have control over that. And so I make sure that they understand that, because then, God forbid, something happens, they know that this is out of my control. We've talked about it. And so communication is important, right? Set your client, you are the expert, and your client is looking at you to be the expert and to know these things about balloons and to educate them. And the more that you can ask them questions and give them advice and take control of the conversation and the situation, the more they're going to trust you. Somebody's asking, how do you store and organize your latex balloons? Okay, so the way that I had them stored, I'm in a bit of a transition right now because I sold my business to my ex-husband who's moving it to another location. So we're kind of breaking everything apart. And what has been the balloon room for 20 years is now going to be my exercise room. So maybe you'll be seeing less of me. But the way that we had them organized was we had cubbies or boxes on the walls. And then we had them organized, by color and size, right? So 160s, 260s, 350s, 646s, 5-inch, 11-inch, 60. I think the 16s were on the very top because I'm very short. And so whatever I didn't need a lot of, I would put on the top because, if it's on the top, it basically doesn't exist. 3-footers, I wouldn't separate by colors. I would just have them in bags by color. In Ziploc baggies, and then all the baggies in my 3-foot box. But all of the 11-inch, I had a box for every main color, right? One for blue, one for pearl blues or whatever. So I think what you need to first of all see is, what are you using a lot of, right? What are the staple colors that you need to have in stock to be ready for emergencies and last minute things? And then once you figure that out, then you'll kind of have a better gauge for how much space you need to have. And, you can always expand it. But when I first started, I just had those big totes. You can get them at Home Depot or Walmart or Target or Costco or whatever. I just had the big totes, and I would just have them separated okay, this one has, these 5 colors in it. That one has those 5 colors in it, like that. And I would just have them stacked. Where do you find the job sheet? Okay, in the Facebook group, that is Beginning Balloon Professionals. If you click on it on the left-hand side of the page, if you're on a computer, it doesn't work if you're on mobile, but if you're on a computer and you click on the left-hand side, there should be there's a link that says Files, and that's where you can find there's a job. Yeah, there's a job cost form in there. That was put out by Qualitex. So if you've done the QBN training, then the job cost is part of their materials. I don't know that. I mean, the job cost is a good place to start, but I think that it can also be problematic. But it's a good starting point, right? I mean, that's the important thing is starting. Can anyone purchase 16-inch and bigger in bulk? Yeah. Okay, yes and no. You need to have a business license and probably a resale license. To buy from the distributors, you need to be a business. But if you're a business, then absolutely, you can buy 16-inch, you can buy 3-foot, you can buy 5-foot, you can buy 7-foot, 8-foot, whatever size you want. My favorite wholesale balloon supplier. My favorite wholesale balloon suppliers are the ones that are closest to me. So the very first one that I'm going to call is, we have one, my glasses are like completely crooked. Okay, maybe my head is crooked. Let's see. The first one that I'm going to call is going to be my local one, because probably I need it immediately, right? I get a lot of last minute orders. So that's my first stop, local. If local doesn't have it, then I'm moving the next closest, which for me, since I'm in San Diego, would be LA. If LA doesn't have it, I'm going to go to Salt Lake City, to Loftus. So it's not so much by price that I'm making my decisions, because remember, your customers are going to pay for that, not you, right? So once you figure out what you're paying, then you just make that part of your pricing. So what I care about is, where is it going to get to me the fastest, right? I don't want to pay overnight shipping because I'm buying it from New York and it takes 5 days to get to me. I want overnight because it's only 1 day away by shipping. So I would go on the websites of the, Qualitex website, go on the Anagram website, go on the Vitalik website, and figure out which distributors are geographically closest to you, and that's going to be your best distributor. What other questions? I'm here, guys. Anybody want to know about the 2 courses that I'm pitching right now? So I've got 2 courses. One is going to be live on September 20th, and one is a home study self-paced course. So the one that you see on the screen, balloon course, that's my balloon business boot camp. It is the recordings from a previous a live boot camp. So that's why it's at such a crazy discount, and it's half price because COVID, I want to try to help y'all out. But I will tell you, I don't know how long I'm keeping it that price. It is very focused on the business side of balloons, making money, marketing, pricing, and sales, right? What I found is in our business, we're great creative people. That's why we're attracted to balloons, but maybe we don't have those business skills. And so that's what Balloon Business Bootcamp is. It is very intensely focused on sales, pricing, and marketing, right? Make money with your balloons. We talk about design, but only in terms of how do you reverse engineer a picture that a client sent you, right? I mean, I've got 400 videos on YouTube for how-tos. Literally just about everything that I do that I make money with, I've put on YouTube in one form or another. The live class in September, it's going to be on September 20th, is a how to get on TV class, right? So I don't want to be, and I can't be anymore because I've got so many other things that I'm trying to build myself into. I don't want to go all over the place talking about balloons on TV. So because I don't want to do it, I've put this class at what I think is a huge value. I mean, I've done media training. I've taken a lot of media training, and I've paid between $10,000 and $20,000 per class for my media training. So, under $1,000, like such a thing doesn't exist. And I'm giving you the benefit not only of all of my high-priced media training that I've taken, of my, more than 100 TV appearances doing balloon segments all over the country. And then also now I'm in a class learning how to be the media. So I've got yet another perspective. So that's what that September class is. It's really focused on getting you on TV, not just to be on TV once as a feature story, but getting you to be the trusted voice to represent balloons and holidays and, whatever in your area. So that's really the focus of the TV class, of the media training class. And it's, I only want a small group of people because I'm going to be having you do some videos and some interviews and things like that, because especially since everything's Zoom right now, you got to be good on Zoom. And so I'm going to be training you. And so that's why it's live. It will probably actually be done in 2 parts. Class 1 will be September 20th. And then as a class, we'll decide on when the second class is. And if you're a Balloon Business Bootcamp student, past or current, then it's even half price from the discount price. So you get an even bigger discount. Okay, I've got a question here. How long does one normally practice the art before going for CBA? CBA is a great program. The education that they provide you is amazing. But CBA is a program that was put together by one of the manufacturers. So I just want to be clear about that. Although the education is great and having CBA behind your name is a great conversation starter, it's not going to make or break you. So how much you need to practice before going for the CBA? Honestly, CBA is minimum requirements, right? So what they were trying to do when they put together the CBA program was establish, basically the lowest level of this is where you need to start. You need to be at this level to be professional. And so I wouldn't say that you need to practice for a long time. I mean, if you get the videos, the Q-band videos, that's going to take you through what they're going to be testing you on. And then you can do your practice within that. So, if you want to do it right away and you're brand new to balloons, you're going to find it as a terrific education, and it'll help you a lot setting yourself up properly. Yeah, so if you're interested in the Balloon Business Bootcamp, the URL for it is ballooncourse.com. If you're interested in the TV class, then DM me. You can either email me at sandyballoon@gmail.com, or if you're on Facebook, you can just private message me, and then we can talk about it, because the link for that one is not nearly as pretty as ballooncourse.com, so I can't just give it to you easily. What do you use as a base for marquees for lawns during birthday parades, or how do you secure them so they won't fall over? Okay, yeah. Anytime you're doing balloons outdoors, you have to assume that it's going to be a giant sail, okay? I mean, it basically is, right? You basically have something that's full of air, and all it takes is a little bit of wind, right? I mean, 4 miles an hour is nothing to us humans. That's just going to feel like a light breeze. That can be devastating to the balloons. So you always want to have a really solid footprint, or you need to have it staked into the ground, okay? So water weights, small weights that you can hide inside of a garland are never going to work for outdoors. You really want to have, at the very least, a 2 foot by 2 foot footprint, right? So a base place that's at least 2 foot by 2 foot. I would even probably, maybe have 2, right? 1 on either end. Or if it's really long, then I'm probably going to have 3, 1 in the middle and 1 on either end. Always for outdoor decor, you can't go too heavy with the rigging, right? You can't be too prepared for wind. So always assume that it's going to be tornadoes, and stake it down and make it super stable, and then unless it's a real tornado or hurricane or whatever, which in San Diego I don't even know what that is, so I can't even speak to how to secure things for that kind of weather. But we do get some normal crazy winds. If you watch the outdoor column video on my YouTube channel, you'll see that I'm setting up in a very windy area. So yeah, having that good footprint. It's all about the footprint. It's not even about the weight as much as it's about the footprint. And if you're really gung-ho and you want to make a base plate that is going to never be knocked over, but is going to be a huge pain in the butt to build, make it an octagon. Octagons are the most stable shape, just because there's so many corners and not enough surface for it to tip over on. Or you could do it the way that I do. Make it a square, because that's a straight line of cutting, and then just add some free weights onto it to give it extra weight if needed. How do I go about setting up my portfolio? Here's my portfolio. I do it in a program called My Publisher. There you go. I'm trying to get the horizon line to straighten this. There you go. Hey. So I do it in a program called My Publisher, but you can do this at Costco. You can do it at CVS. You can do it at Snapfish. Pretty much any photo program now, there's a million of them, is you can print these books. And the way that I have it set up, and by the way, if you are one of my Balloon Business Bootcamp students, you have access to all of my pictures, all of them, my entire library of photos, and you can use them to make a book like this. You can use them on your website. You can use them on your Facebook page. You can use them to do anything you want, except publish a book like on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, like a book that has an ISBN number for publication. As long as it's something for your marketing and not for sale, then you can use the pictures without accreditation if you are a Balloon Business Bootcamp student. If you are not a Balloon Business Bootcamp student, it is ballooncourse.com, and I recommend that you go over there and sign up right now. Okay, so this is how I have my portfolio set up. I have it set up in the front, and I use the whole 100 pages. Now, here's the thing. I have heard from some that if you have such a big book like this is not a portfolio, it's an ideas book. I don't care what you call it. I want to give my clients as many things to look at and options to think about as I can, because I don't know what they're going to say. Oh, I don't know what a bouquet of balloons in red looks like. Believe it or not, they say that. So I have in the front of the book, I have it loaded with the really crazy things, the reputation building things. Hey, it's like I'm going back to when I was a kindergarten teacher trying to read over my shoulder like this. So I started with the crazy things, the reputation builders, and then kind of go more into the things that I actually am selling more of. And this book is probably a couple years old because it's probably been on my desk for several years. So I don't know how current these pictures are. Gosh, I cannot get this angle. I am going, I'm trying here. Anyway, so dance floors are one of my biggest sellers for bar mitzvahs, right? Because in my opinion, the dance floor is the most important part of that kind of party. So I have lots of pictures of dance floors because that's what I wanted to steer my clients towards when I was doing bar mitzvah consultations. And then, you know, the farther back you go, the more it's going to be things that, well, maybe not. There we go. That are more classic or normal, so that when somebody asks me, oh, I don't really know what that looks like, can you show me so I can show them? There we go. And here's the thing. So often, your clients have no idea what they want. They're counting on you to be a professional and tell them. And that's why, like, so many times I would go to a balloon convention, I'd learn something new, I was excited about it, I had pictures of it or whatever, and so then I'm at the next consultation and my client's like, oh, so what do you recommend? I'm like, oh my God, here's the newest thing in balloons, this is so amazing, I think we should do this, nobody else has had this. I'm like, oh, I love it, yes, let's do it. Right? So again, if you control the conversation with your client, then they're going to think higher. Now, be nice, like, don't be a jerk about it, right? I mean, mind your P's and Q's, be in control, but also, be approachable. but yeah, they'll respect you more and they'll be willing to pay more because they're paying for your expertise. So footprint, when I talk about footprint, what I'm talking about is the size of the base plate, right? So let's see, I'm trying to look around my desk to see what I can show you as by way of example. Okay, so I have this bottle of water here, right? This is the footprint, right? So this has a little bit bigger footprint, right? But this is it kind of conical shape. So it also might be prone to be top heavy when it's empty, right? It might fall over easily when it's empty because it's top heavy. I don't have anything, but if I were to stick this to this, right? So if I were to put this as the base of a bouquet, it's not very stable. It's kind of vertical. It might have some weight to it, but it could easily topple over. Now, if I stick it on this, right, so that this is one piece, this flat platform is not nearly as easy to tip over because it has so much surface area, right? So I don't know if this is geometry or physics that we're talking. I did really badly in both of them. so I'm not entirely certain. Yeah, but it's one or the other. But I think it's physics. I think it's physics, right? Because it's about the torque and stuff like that. But anyways, the larger the base, the more stable it's going to be. To sum it up on one foot, no pun intended. To do a video on how to make an air-filled balloon canopy. That's a problem. I mean, if you're going to do a balloon canopy with air, then it's going to have to be rigged to the ceiling somehow, or attached to scaffolding or something like that, right? Because for the canopy, what makes it go up is the lift of the helium. So to do it with air, I mean, you can do the tunnel with air. Short of rigging it or building a frame, I don't know how you would do an air-filled canopy. I'll have to think about that. It is physics, thank you. As you can tell, the science and math subjects were not my forte. So, yeah. Trying to think. If you wanted to do it, if you wanted to do the string of pearls helium canopy, I don't have a video specifically on it on my channel, but I do have videos on how to do a column and how to do the clamshell arch, the string of pearls arch. And basically you're just making string of pearls, that is the line of helium balloons where you have each balloon next to the, you have a balloon and another balloon and another balloon and another balloon. That's the string of pearls arch. So if you make a string of pearls arch and you attach it between two columns and you do that around four sides of the dance floor, that is the, oh, thank you. That is how you make the open canopy for the dance floor. But that does require helium. I don't think it would work with linking balloons. I think that unless it was a very small one, you could probably do it like a very small canopy with the, on my channel, I have the air-filled birthday arch using short columns and linking balloons. So you could probably do a very small open canopy that way, but a full canopy is going to be heavy and it will drop. It's got to be rigged or it's got to be helium. Okay, what other questions do we have? Anything else? Anything? We'll give it a few more minutes. This was just kind of impromptu. Be on the lookout. I'll be coming on more these days since I'll be sitting in front of a computer on camera and set up for it more often. I don't like to go on camera when I'm in my pajamas. I'm just weird that way. So yeah, I mean, I might just, drop in or when I see that there's things going on or I'm getting a lot of questions about the same things, I drop in. I don't know when I'm going to make more specifically balloon videos. Because since I'm not doing jobs right now, I don't know when I'll go back into the studio. There will be more balloon videos coming. I just don't have a timeline for you. I have a huge list of things that I never made that I really wanted to. Do you ever use Christmas lights with my designs? Yeah. You're talking about you're talking about the little, like the lights that people put on Christmas trees, right? So I'm Jewish, so to me they're balloon lights. Actually, I go right after Christmas and I try to buy all of them that I can. I really like the rope lights. The rope lights look really cool on balloons. Let's see if I can find a picture to show you. What's a good way to control all your social media orders? Make them have a conversation with you. Don't just let them order straight off of social media. I guess that depends on what you're doing, right? Since I was high end, I always want it to be high end. I never had a way for people to order without talking to me. And in fact, that was the reason that I did Balloon Planet for like 2 minutes. And the reason I didn't like doing it was because I couldn't talk to the clients. I couldn't direct them. And it wasn't a good fit for me. Like, that's not how I worked. I needed to have a much higher level of touch. No, the lights don't get too hot. So for example, this one here, let's see if I can get that up there. This one here is just using Christmas lights all through the piece. And this particular design is by Ken Stillman. He might have the instructions for it on his Balloon Click website. So that's just using the Christmas lights kind of laced through. And then the rope lights, I love the rope lights. When you can find the rope lights after Christmas, like that, like buy everything you can. So here's a wedding scene using the rope lights. See how gorgeous they are? And then let's see, I don't know if I have this picture in this book. If you do it with clear, so you put the rope lights, it shines through it. But I don't know. I've redone these books so many times. I don't know if it's in there. Maybe. Okay, you can kind of see it in this picture. It's kind of in the background, and it's a small picture to begin with. So let's see. Okay, I have an idea. Let me find the thing on Facebook so I can try to check my angles. Okay. It is this picture here. This one. And it's not straight. Nope. Ugh, I can't get the framing right to get that right where I want it in the camera because it's covering my face to try to put it there. Let's see. Anyhow, so you can kind of see, this picture is on my website because this is an old picture. You can kind of see in the heart and in the columns, which were clear, how gorgeous those rope lights are shining through it. And then, actually, I wonder if I have this picture in here. This one's also done with rope lights. this was just amazing. It was, oh, I wonder if it's in here. And so here's another one with the Christmas lights. But now they have battery operated ones, right? So when that picture was taken, we didn't have such great options for battery operated. And so we always had to be mindful of where we had plugs. Well, now they've got great battery operated ones. You can get them from Fortune Products or even on Amazon. You're just looking for the LED string lights. And then you don't even have to worry about being close to an outlet. Okay, so I'm trying to find this picture. And I just don't even know if I put it in this book or not. Let's see. Oh, here, this one too is also rope lights. It's not the picture I'm looking for, but I want to show it to you. Here we go. Nope. Sorry, I know I'm making you seasick. I can't find my camera. No, and also I don't know my right from left. Everything's backwards in TV land. Okay, here we go. That one. So that one's also using those rope lights around the columns, and you just see how gorgeous they are. Right. Yeah, you would need an extension cord. Exactly. But then you got to tape all those extension cords down so that they don't become a tripping hazard. So when you're doing it with electricity, you have to be very, very mindful. I don't think they make the rope lights battery operated, but they are gorgeous. Let's see. I don't know that I have this picture in my book after all. It's on my website though. But what it is it was the next year at that same venue. And we took clear acrylic tubes and just wrapped the rope lights around them. We didn't even have anything on the inside of the tube. And it was so gorgeous, just the way it glowed. And then we had the balloons on the top with the light. And yeah, I don't think the picture's in this book. I think it might have been in a previous incarnation of this book. But if you go on my Balloon Utopia website, I'm sure it's there somewhere in the overwhelming number of pictures on that site. And again, if you're just starting out and you don't have pictures to use, you should join my Balloon Business Bootcamp just for that alone, because I give you license to all of my photos. Some of them are professional, some of them are not. Sometimes I intentionally leave things in the pictures so that it shows that it's a real job, as opposed to making, oh my God, the picture is here. I'm so excited. Okay, this is it. There, can you see that with the clear acrylic tubes and the rope light, the effect that it had? I can't make it straight. There we go. And the camera can't focus on it. Can you see that? Any tips for keeping the rope lights from tangling up after teardown? Well, the rope lights shouldn't tangle so much because they're pretty thick. The other lights are the ones that tangle, the ones that are more like Christmas light kind of. If you keep the boxes that they come in and then fold it back into the box, at least you'll only have to untangle one from itself instead of trying to untangle it from other people, from all of its friends. But no, yeah, wiry things and stringy things and hangery things tangle and are just kind of a pain. The other thing is to just consider them disposable and put the cost of it into your decor. How many people do you have on your event team to help with balloon installations? As many as I need. I never go to a job without at least one other person, even if I don't need them, even if it's just a single column. It's not because I need help. It's because it just looks better, right? If you're a busy company and you have lots of jobs, there's no way that you're just going to go out by yourself. You're going to have teams going out. And so since the image that I was always trying to project was of a big company, I always, even on the smallest thing, would send out 2 people, which is also a reason that, it made sense for me to have a minimum, because if I'm going to send out 2 people for a $70 job, that's just ridiculous. And then if the job is bigger, then I have more people, as many as I need to make it happen. So some of the factors that are going to determine how many people I need on crew is how long do we have on site, right? I mean, if we only have 1 hour and we've got a ton of things to do, then I need a really solid crew. And I need an experienced crew, right? I don't have time for people that need full instructions. Like, I need people who can get it and just jump on it, that I can just say, okay, you go do that and make it. Okay, done, right? I don't have time to babysit them and give them explanations and everything like that. On the other hand, if we have a really long time in the venue, and, sometimes it happens, for example, that there's a hospital that I do that I do a lot of. I do every year, or did every year. Will do again next year. It's one of the few clients that I promised I wouldn't abandon, that I would keep them no matter what. So I still have a handful of clients that won't let me retire, and they want me to do their job. So this is one of them. And they have an event that starts at 6 in the morning. So I come the day before and set everything up. And in fact, that's the room that I was in where I did the organic garland. That's in my YouTube video. I have a ton of time in that room. And since I have a ton of time, why rent a truck, right? I have a ton of time where nobody else is going to be in there, right? I'm not fighting with other vendors. I don't have the client looking over my shoulder. If the client's going to be in the room, I want to spend as little time as possible in there. So in this room, they just open it up for me. Security guard opens it up and then leaves me be. So I'm going to do all my inflation there. I only need maybe one or two other people because I can, right? I mean, why rent a truck if I don't have to? Why do the work before if I don't have to, right? But most of the time, I'm going to try to do most of the work now, to my clients, I always said my workshop. I always use the word workshop and office, but I will have you know it is my house. Until very recently, 3/4 of my house belonged to the balloons, and we just kind of wedged ourselves between them. So we'll do all of the work that we can in advance at the workshop and then bring it in trucks. And so I have a corporate account with Penske, and just call them up, hey, I need a truck on Tuesday. So that's how we do a lot of them. It's only a handful of events that I will do start to finish on site. Basically, the thing is this: the longer that you are in the client's space, the more chance they have to either scope creep, right? Ask you for other things that weren't part of the contract. And they always do it where it's like, I just have these 2 balloons. Can you just blow them up for me? And you're like, all right, fine. Well, 2 balloons all of a sudden is 10 balloons. Now you're like, okay, where's the line here? So, that's one thing that happens when you're doing it with the client looking over your shoulder. The other thing is then they start to micromanage. Oh, wait, can you put it over here? You don't want that, right? Or the other thing is that you'll bump into the other vendors, right? I mean, every vendor at an event thinks they are the most important one, right? The caterer thinks that they should have the loading dock, and who are these balloon people? Because if the food isn't there, then there's no event, right? I personally think that we don't need carrot sticks. If there's no balloons, there's not a party. But every vendor thinks that they are the most important. And so that's another reason to spend less time on site, that you don't have to, bump into them. I mean, you want to see them, say hi, but you don't want to be having friction over, who the DJ needs to test his lights, but I need to see to build the balloons kind of thing. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but as much as possible, you want to try to avoid it. Let's see. What else? Any other questions? I mean, I can just keep babbling for ages, but yeah, so I got to get my pitch out there again. I got to do my shameless self-promotion because I make money, and, I got a kid in college. So I've got 2 courses going. I recommend both of them. One of them is how to get on TV and be good on TV, basically how to become the expert, your local expert, to become the one that the news calls every holiday. Hey, we need a segment for Christmas. And by the way, Christmas is the best time and the easiest time to get on TV. And especially right now when everything is remote, like they're dying for something interesting. So I really recommend my TV class if you have any desire to be on TV and to be looked at as the most important balloon person in your market. It doesn't even matter if you're the best, to be honest. I mean, I would not if your balloons are really bad, I'm not going to let you go on TV like that. I'm going to coach you a little bit on, how to get things looking better and how to do the sets right, because you want to represent well. You don't have to do crazy fancy sculptures though, because, honestly, most lay people are as impressed with a column as they are with something that might take you 20 hours. And unless you show them the two side by side, they don't know the difference. So you don't have to do, this kind of sculpture for your TV appearance. And in fact, I would recommend that you don't, right? Like this, right? You don't have to do something like that for a TV appearance. That's not what you want to do at all. But you do want to have the chops that, that it's going to look good and represent well, right? You don't want something that's like, unless you're doing organic where every balloon is meant to be a different size, you don't want to try to do a column that looks like, a third grader did it, or the balloon, the party store threw up. So that's the TV class. That is a live class because I'm actually going to have you performing, right? We're going to do interviews. I mean, I want to train you for what I know they're looking for right now. And then we'll also talk about what to do when you're in the studio once COVID time is over. So it's going to be a 2-part class. The first class is September 20th, and the second one will be decided by the students when that second class will be. So that one's live because I need to give you feedback. I need to see you. I need to hear you, and things like that. I probably will never release that one as a home study. Even to release it for the price that I am, the only reason that I'm willing to do that is because I don't want to go on TV for balloons anymore. So previously when I offered it, it was many more zeros because, it was still something that I was doing, and, I'm not going to teach everything that I do for nothing. Like, I'm a businesswoman, but I do recommend it if you're trying to build your name. And then the other class that I absolutely recommend for everybody is my Balloon Business Bootcamp. It's a home study, self-paced class. So what's going to happen? It's a 6-week course. You can take as long as you want to do it. You do not have to finish it in 6 weeks, but every week for those 6 weeks, a new module will open, right? So, and it's set on a 7-day schedule, and day 1 is when I put your name into the portal, right? So day 1, module 1 opens. And, I wonder if I can share my screen here. I can even show you. Yeah, you know what? Hold on one second. Let me pull up the course, and I will show it to you. How's that? Bear with me just a minute here. So each week a new module is going to open that builds on the week before. You can go through it in 6 weeks, or you can take your time and do it in as long as you want. But it is self-paced, and it is not live, right? So I'm not there talking to you, holding your hand. There is a Facebook group so you can communicate with me and show me things if you have questions. And there is, you can tag me and things like that, but there's not live webinars like there is for the TV class. Sorry, I'm still trying to find this so I can show it to you. Okay, so somebody's asking if a client wants you to use their balloons for decor. Okay, let me tell you exactly what I do. This happens all the time, right? Especially with, it's so easy to buy balloons on Amazon. So client says, oh, well, I have my own balloons. And I say, that's great. I just need to tell you that I can't guarantee results if I'm using your balloons, and I'm going to have to charge you anyway if the balloon pops. So if, for example, they have me fill it up with helium, I charge $5 a balloon for an 11-inch balloon with helium, right? If the balloon pops because it's a crappy balloon, I'm still charging them that $5. And then if I have to take out a new balloon, I'm charging them another $5. So I tell them, I said, listen, the truth is you're not going to save any money, and it might even cost you more to use your own balloons. I can't guarantee quality unless I'm using the balloons that I purchased, that I know where they came from and how old they are. And so that's the way that I get around it. And most of the time, once you say that, they're like, oh, okay, no problem. Or they might say, well, I have these whatever really special balloons. I'm willing to take the chance. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, you give your customer what they want, like control it, make it that it's comfortable, make sure you have your disclaimer so you're not going to be doing a refund. But at the end of the day, give the customer what they want. So actually, I have a story about that. When I first started doing balloons, I only wanted to do the big crazy things, right? I was an artiste. And let me tell you, everything that I teach in boot camp, it's not because I'm so smart. It's because I've made 20 years worth of mistakes. And at least I'm smart enough to learn from my mistakes. But pretty much anything that I teach, I probably did it wrong the first time, maybe even the second time. In the case of pricing, maybe even for 10 or 15 years. So totally lost my train of thought. I was about to tell you a story about... Anybody remember where I was going with that? Squirrel! Okay, yes. Well, that's something that that you are going to see when we do these things, especially when they're impromptu. That's right. About using their own balloons. Yes, that's right. So basically, that's it. I just explained to them that I don't guarantee the results and that it may end up costing them more. Okay, so I was going to show you. Let's see. I was going to show you the Bootcamp Portal, and here we go. Let me make it big. All right, can you guys see my screen now? Oh, about being a balloon artiste. Okay, yes. Stay there with me on that comment. I want to tell you this story because you'll laugh, and you'll like it, and it may inspire you. Or if not inspire you, maybe just help you in your business. But first, I want to show you this portal. Okay, so what you're seeing now is what it's going to look like after all 6 weeks, right? Because remember, things open up every 7 days, right? Relative to when you start the course, every 7 days something opens up. So this is what it looks like. And then ultimately what you're going to have is you're going to have the 6 weeks of the modules. There's a handful of recipes, and then there's a whole bunch of extras. PDF copies of my books, other videos, just a whole bunch of other things that I thought might be helpful. Those are going to be under extras. I believe extras opens on day 14 for those of you who are in Balloon Business Bootcamp wondering when you're going to get to extras. I think it opens on day 14. So this is kind of what it looks like. And you see each week you'll go in and there's a webinar and there's the homework. And then, when you click on that, you'll find the downloads and everything like that. So basically that's what it looks like. Do I pay employees by the hour or per job? Both. So now in California, everybody has to be an employee. Up until recently, I used everybody as an independent contractor. Now we're not allowed to do that anymore. So now it has to be by the hour. The exception to that is that I pay my strike crew a flat $50. So if it takes them 3 or 4 or 5 hours to take it down, it shouldn't. It's on them. And if it takes them 1 hour or 45 minutes, which is more likely, then they made a pretty good wage and I did not have to go out at midnight. So I pay them a flat $50. But otherwise I pay an hourly. Due to our adding an act of God clause. You know what? You should always have an act of God clause in your contract because of weather. I mean, if it rains, if it snows, if it's a hurricane, that's act of God. Somebody's talking about different things that you should have in the contract, like a client changing colors clause. So let's talk about this for a second. I don't have that. I mean, I'm high end, right? I'm charging more than anybody else, or at least I try to. If somebody says, "Oh, that's how much so-and-so charges," then my prices just went up. I want to be the most expensive. And that is my niche, right? That's the business that I set up, was to be the most expensive. So along with that, though, my USP is superior customer service, right? Which means that I don't charge for changing colors. I don't charge for last minute design changes, depending, right? If it changes the value, I charge. I don't charge if I have to go out to replace a single balloon that's an hour away. That's what they're paying for in my premium prices. However, if I were a volume business like Walmart, that I was making only a small amount of money on every job, but I had to do a lot of jobs in order to make that money, then I absolutely would have those clauses, because any small little change means you're losing money. So what you need to have in your contract also depends a lot on what kind of business you've set up. Okay, I'm gonna stop the screen share there. Hi, you can see me again. So I was going to tell you about being a balloon artiste in my early days. Okay, so I want to show you. You saw this picture. We were looking at it earlier. This is Tony Gwynn. He used to be called Mr. Padres because He was a native San Diegan and stayed with the Padres his entire life, starting with the Aztecs at San Diego State. So he spent his entire baseball career here in San Diego. So the Padres hired us for his retirement ceremony. And I mean, that particular job was great. They wanted something that was crazy in a sculpture, but there were other jobs that I lost at that time because there were jobs that, for example, I can even tell you one. I don't remember what year they opened, but this was still in my phase of when I wanted to be the artiste and only do really cool, fancy things. And I didn't want to do simple balloons. And so I really hated it when chains would call me, right? And they want the same thing in every location across the whole country. And they're calling California after they've already done half the country. So I can't even design it for everybody else, right? By the way, if you've ever done any of the Petcos, that was my design, even though I wasn't the one sending out the jobs. If you got that recipe telling you 4260s on the Magic Arch, that was my recipe. Because I was the first one. They're based in San Diego, so that they started in San Diego. But anyways, so I would get really offended when they just want a classic decor. Like, I am capable of so much more. I am an artiste. Well, I would lose jobs that way because you know what? They didn't need fantastic balloon art. What they needed was some color to draw attention to their event, and they needed it to look just like it did in every other state because they need it to stay on brand. But in my youth, I didn't understand that. I just understood that I wanted to do something amazing and I wanted people's breath to be taken away, but that wasn't what my client needed. So you really want to be dialed into what does your client need? It might not be your most amazing, fanciest thing. It might be, which ultimately became my biggest seller once I understood that it was in fact where I made the most money. It might be just your simple standard column, just your regular old spiral, right? That might be your big money maker. That's my big money maker. Once I understood that, forget doing the fancy stuff I'm not making money on. Let's do columns, baby. But for everybody, it's going to be different, right? The way that I structured my business might not be the business model for you. So that's why in Balloon Business Bootcamp Home Study Edition, what we're talking about is for you to define your business and your market and your pricing. It's not me just giving you a rate sheet saying, here, be me. You need to be you, and you need to do it in the way that matches your market, your vision, your business, and your life, right? If you don't work on Saturdays because, Shabbat, if you're Jewish or Seventh-day Adventist or whatever that uses Saturday as the Sabbath and you don't work, fine, that's great. Now you just need to look for clients that aren't having parties on Saturday, right? So I fully support you building your business the way you want it. It's your business. I just want you to make money at it. That's it. I just want to make sure that you build your business in a way that's profitable. Otherwise, you're paying to work. It's an expensive hobby. Like right now, I have an expensive hobby. I just started painting shoes, right? I'm upstairs. The shoes are downstairs. Otherwise, I would show you. But if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see these shoes that I painted. I'm like super excited about it. I made myself a pair of rainbow sparkly glitter ombre ballet flats. I didn't make the shoes. I just painted them, right? So now, like I need to make some money off of it and also like make it into kind of a business. But really, I just kind of want to like, minimize the cost of my new hobby, right? It's not that I really want to make money on it. I'm not planning to make that my bread and butter. I just don't want to lose money buying all these paints and stuff. So, just be really clear on what your goals are and what your needs are, and then build the business in the way that's going to work for you, but also in a way that's going to let you grow, right? So that's one thing. Try not to name your business your own name because that makes it really hard to sell later, and when I started balloons, I was like, oh, I'm going to be doing balloons. They'll pry them out of my cold, dead hands. And, who knew? Like 25 years later, I'd be like, okay, time for me to become a TV star, which is what I'm actively working towards now. Someday, God willing, you guys will be seeing me on TV and I will be getting paid for it. That is my big, hairy, audacious goal. So there you go. You never know where balloons are going to take you. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have here? I know I told you like an hour ago I was going to get off, and I've just been babbling away. Do I have any other questions about balloon camp or about the TV course? Any other questions about that? You know, the entrepreneurial spirit, right? I mean, you can't be an entrepreneur and only have a single income source. You got to have your hands in lots of things. And as a creative too, I gotta, I need to keep my hands in glitter. Literally, I need to have glitter and color in my life. That's why I became a balloon artist too. It made me laugh. It made me happy. And then I wanted to sell it. So, yeah. So, like I said, if you're interested in Balloon Business Bootcamp Home Study Edition, the URL is on the screen. It is ballooncourse.com. And if you're interested in the TV class, which is September 20th, this one's a hard deadline. It's not evergreen. The class is when the class is, and it will not be repeated. Then reach out to me personally. And then I can give you the link, because I didn't set up a pretty link for it, and it's like one of those really complicated, stupid URLs with a bunch of letters and numbers and from the system that hosts it. So yeah, just send me an email if you're watching me on YouTube, or even make a comment. I'll see it if you make a comment. I'm really trying to go into YouTube more often to answer those comments now that I figured out how. Now that I figure out where everything is. And if you're on Facebook, you could drop a comment, and I'll try. You know what? Let me see if I can find this. I'll try to drop the link in both places, on Facebook in a comment, and also I'll put it in the video description. I'll go back and edit the video description and put it on the bottom for YouTube. But also hit me up if you want to talk about it. So again, that is September 20th. The Balloon Business Bootcamp is evergreen. Technically, you can get into it at any time, but it will not always be the price it is right now. So it's not the crazy sale price that it was last month, but it still is a crazy good price. It's still 50% of the regular home study price. And I will definitely keep that price until the end of the month. And I don't know if I'm going to change the price in September, if I'm going to raise it September 1st or not. I haven't decided. So I suggest getting in now. If you need to make payments, talk to me. Okay, just private message me and we'll figure something out. I don't want that to be the reason that you hold yourself back. Okay, so again, that Balloon Business Bootcamp is focusing on pricing. It is focusing on marketing. It is focusing on sales. It is basically focused on making money with balloons. That's the big thing. It doesn't matter what country you're in, because it's self-paced. You don't have to watch it at any certain time. And although all of the examples are done in dollars, math is math. Marketing is marketing. Just substitute your local currency. Any other questions? No. Okay. Let's see. I like to leave you with a good tip. So I'm trying to think of something I haven't already told you. Although really, you know what? I think the tip I left you with last time and the time before, I think I'm going to give it to you one more time, because I really do believe it that strongly. And that is, say yes and then figure out how. Say yes, charge a lot, right? Don't undercharge yourself if you don't know how. But say yes, name a high price so that you have the money to get help, and then figure out how. So there you go. That's my last word of advice for you guys. If you have other questions, go ahead and just put them in the chat. I'll come by and see them later. And until next time, go forth and balloonify. Mwah! Bye, guys.